Hi, my name is Jeremy Reiser, and I'm the Artistic Director of the Academy of Sacred Drama. I'm joined today by Tony Lopresti, who's a classically trained mime and the Academy's Movement Director. Today, we're going to present our July 2020 lecture, which we're calling Telling a Story with Movement. Before we get started, I want to let you know that at any time over the course of our presentation, you can ask Tony and me questions on our Discord channel. If you're watching this presentation on GiveButter, just scroll down to the story section to access that link. And if you're watching on YouTube, there's a link in the description. So you can click on any of those in order to be able to watch what we're doing today, and also to be able to comment on anything. And I'll check every once in a while for your messages. If we miss any, we'll check them at the end of the presentation. And if we finish the live stream and there's still questions that are unanswered, we'll make sure that both Tony and I answer those questions before the evening is done. And you can check back anytime on Discord, and we'll make sure our answers are there. So if you don't have a Discord account already, you'll need your name, whether that's a real or fake name, an email, and a password. And you have to agree to their terms of service and privacy policy. So it's always a good idea to take a look at that before you agree. And also, if you're watching on YouTube, it really helps us if you like our video and you subscribe to our channel. So please do that. Help us get the news out. We'd really appreciate it. And just a brief technical note, we're streaming varying qualities of video. We have later in our presentation, we have higher quality video with higher quality sound, and earlier in our presentation, we have sort of B-roll video that we're using just to be able to show the motion and the action, and to be able to explain some of that. But if you check our YouTube channel after the presentation, you can see some full-length videos in higher quality all the way through if you're interested in that. So let's start by going to our first slide for today, and that's how did we meet? Tony and I have a long history at this point. We met through a mutual friend, Father Raymond Rafferty, who used to be the pastor at Corpus Christi Catholic Church in New York City, which is where Music Before 1800 hosts their series that's been going on for over 50 years. And we've thankfully been on that series a couple of times now, including one of the concerts from our last season that Tony did the movement direction for. So there was a gathering at Tony's house, and I met him there, and it took a few years before we ever collaborated. And I'm thankful that we finally did. So thank you, Tony. It's been great to have you this year.
Thank you. It's happy to have this opportunity. And it took a long time, but seeds take a long time to grow sometime.
They do, and we have a long way to go. This is our first dabble in experimenting with a smart way of doing movement with this music, and so I'm sure there's lots of growth from there. I'll move to the next slide, and that's our sort of a basis for being able to understand the beginning of what we're doing. So we have two different traditions here. We have a musical tradition. We also have a movement tradition at play in order to be able to put the Baroque oratorios together as they are. So what we do is Tony comes from his own tradition that grew out of things that were happening during the Baroque era and even earlier. And Baroque oratorio that is my musical specialty grew out of the sacred drama of the medieval times. And when we understand sacred drama, we're talking about celebrations, public celebrations, lots of movement, lots of festivities. And so I've gotten the question many times, is it historically accurate in order to be able to put movement in a Baroque oratorio? And I think this is actually the wrong question to ask. It sort of implies that everything starts out as a concert production and then ends up somewhere else. And that's certainly not the case with oratorio that grew out of these public celebrations. Would you ever ask anyone, for example, is it historically accurate to put movement in plays? Everyone would assume that it is. I think the abnormal thing for the time period is how broke people like to codify things, write treatises and collect what they're doing into charts, like we see on the slide displayed right now. And these are different hand gestures, rhetorical hand gestures from Emmanuel at the time. And we got our first dabble in this sort of thing, to be able to cross these two roads finally at Avalock Farm in New Hampshire. And that's where I think I ought to start turning this over to Tony to talk a little bit about our experience there.
I actually really like this photo because it's not what people would expect to see when you say you're going to present them with an early music group of singers and musicians. I just think it's a really terrific photograph. Yeah, Avalock Farm is a really great retreat, artist retreat in New Hampshire. It's in a beautiful location, and the artists are treated really well with accommodations and meals. And it really frees you to explore the art form that you're involved with. We took the opportunity to spend part of the day doing physical exercises, not just musical exercises, not just musical rehearsals. So we did it twice a day for about an hour each time. And there were a series of exercises that are part of training to be a silent actor or a mime. And they're purposefully designed to be difficult, but not impossible, and also to be fun. And the idea is you're never going to be able to train somebody in a couple of days to be an accomplished silent actor or accomplished mime, and you can't even do that in a few years. But what you can do is to give people an experience that's different than what they're used to. So everybody comes from a different part of early music who's in this photograph. Some are singers, some are musicians, some have trained in different places. So to take them out of the comfort zone, or to take them out of the necessity of having to say, oh yeah, I just sang here, or I just played there, and that kind of talk. We give them a physical experience where they're challenged, or physically challenged, and sometimes to a great degree. The idea is to give them a common experience, and an experience that they can complain about when they go to meals together. I didn't know I had this muscle here. Something that they can laugh about, things that they like, things that might seem familiar to some of them. Some of them are very athletic. So it kind of reinforced some of those types of things. And that little by little begins to bond the group together in a new and different way. And it's that bonding that ultimately allows them to begin to become spontaneous with their inner life, and to bring their emotions to the fore. And that's why people go to the theater. That's why people go to see people portray other people. What are you there to look for? You're there to look at behavior. Behavior is indicative of emotion, and emotion is something that we all share. And we want to understand how these characters are dealing with various emotions, and how that might be able to help us, how that might be able to inform us, educate us. So that's the whole point. Now, if we were to just do a music rehearsal and try to add movement to that, that would be like an imposition, and it wouldn't feel organic to the singing, to the music. And in performance, of course, everybody's going to fall to their default position. And if you get to a difficult piece of music, well, that piece of movement's going to go away. But if it starts to become organic through these exercises and through this bonding, where people actually enjoy it and they remembered it, then it allows the performers to delve in a little bit more deeply into themselves, and to figure out how to use their bodies to augment the music that they're bringing forth to people.
Well, Tony, would you mind if I started the clip of some of our exercises at Avalock?
No, I think it'll be fun. Okay, we're going to try something different. Ready? Okay.
Okay. This is called a push-up with rotation. Do you know that?
Yes.
Yes? Okay.
The rehearsal tonight.
We're going to try for 10. See how the S is being formed, or the snake. See if we can increase the speed just a little bit. Try not to lose any of the points. That's why we do things in slow motion, so you learn every single point. So when you do it in another rhythm, you don't miss anything. You're always touching all of the points. Big staccato, it goes immediately from one spot to the next. Boom. Nothing in between. Boom. Good. And to the left. Boom. 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 All right.
Well, you can see there we have not only physical three movements, inclination, rotation, and translation. And adding those four rhythms, those three movements, you create anything in the universe.
Yeah, and you were talking about taking those as tools in order to be able to build them into your repertoire, so that you don't necessarily tell everybody what to do at every single moment, but you know what you can draw from, and then you can sculpt those scenes around people's actual authentic sense of where the music and the movement should be going.
Right, right. And it's always the inner life that the body forms itself around. I mean, you can see that in any individual that you encounter, that their their body forms their inner life. So when a person is angry, I mean, you see that in their body. When a person is sad or happy, you see that in their body. When a person is walking down the street and you just pass by them, you know whether it's somebody you want to avoid or whether it's somebody that you feel, hey, no, that could be a really interesting person to know. That was look at that attitude that they were walking by. That was really cool. So we picked that up immediately. So the trick is here. The discipline is to free the inner life and to train the body so that the body reflects the inner life as we choose.
Okay. Well, I think we should move on right now to some of our actual performing excerpt.
Sure.
If that's all right.
Absolutely.
Our first major chunk is from our second production of the year, The Victim of Love. And the oratorio focuses on the final moments of Jesus. The first half of the oratorio, he's not actually on the cross, but on the second half of the oratorio, he's actually on the cross with Mary and Saint John by him, and he dies right near the end of the second half. Not to give away plot points, but and in the first half, there's a lot of time spent between Saint John and Mary talking about, oh God, please, or Jesus, please take me instead. Let me take this cross, so to say, upon me, rather than having you do that. So why don't you tell us about our first clip coming up?
Okay, the first clip is the entrance of the singers onto the stage. We wanted to create from the very beginning a sense that this was different. It wasn't just singers entering the performing space, putting their music on their music stands, and being ready, waiting for their music cues, and then singing beautifully to the audience. We wanted to present real people. We wanted to present Jesus as a real person, Mary and John as real people involved in this moment of intense drama. But we wanted to do it in a stylized way that was indicative of the era. So the entrance is a very stylized walk, and there is a stylized bow, and then the singers take their positions, and they hold a pose. Each one of them holds a pose in tableau until the music finishes. Now, what that does to the audience is it creates a kind of tension in the audience, an anticipation. Something is going to happen because we're seeing real people, real characters on the stage. What are they going to do?
And just before we roll that first clip, I just want to remind the audience today that these first excerpts, again, are our B-roll clips. Doesn't have the high quality audio or the video. It's a lower quality of both, but they're just short clips in order to be able to get a grasp of some of the movement stuff that we're talking about. And later on in the presentation, we'll move to the higher quality edited clips. Oh, sorry, give me one moment. Here we go. Right. And the singers were so perfectly stationary for so long right at the end of that.
Yeah. And that in itself is a discipline, but it's a discipline of the inner life, because you can't maintain the exterior unless the inner life is constantly flowing, unless the energy of the emotion of that moment is constantly flowing. That's one of our main exercises, is freezing in a position of an extreme physical point where there's extreme emotion, and to hold that, to be able to hold that, to be able to live that emotion through the stillness. And in person, and even here on the small screen, it's very, very striking.
So how about our next clip?
In the next clip, Jesus begins to sing and maintains his stylized characteristics and gestures. And John and Mary turn toward him, also in stylized manner. And they focus their attention on him, telling the audience that this is an important character and we have to listen to him.
Okay, I'll roll that clip. That was the end of the clip.
Okay. And in the next one, Mary is going to start to sing, and she's going to begin to plead her case for taking, for Jesus to allow her, his mother, to take his place. And John and Jesus are intently listening to her, and her arm movements are very, very much expressive of her inner emotions in this clip.
Okay, so I'll roll the next one.
And in the next clip, Jesus responds to Mary. John maintains his style because he's listening in on their conversation. And Jesus tells Mary that she can't do that. She can't substitute herself for him. She's not a god. She is indeed a woman. Now, remember, this is 300 years ago, so it wasn't just because she was a woman, but it was because she was not a god, and she couldn't do this. And Mary does not like Jesus' answer, so she turns away. And the audience sees and feels that Jesus' answer has made a significant impact on Mary, but it's not the answer she wanted.
Okay, so I'll roll that. Yeah, and that's the first of a dual thing that happens. There's a lot of back and forth between Mary and Saint John throughout La Vittima d'Amore, and Christ is always in the center, but we have these two opposing forces.
Right, and it was important in the rehearsals for Andrew, who sings the part of Jesus, to begin to recognize the humanity of the people who were interacting with him, and in so doing, to recognize the humanity of the character of Jesus and to react as a person to the two of them pleading. Now, the next clip has John pleading his case that he indeed should be allowed to take the place of Jesus. Jesus turns to listen to him, but Mary is still impacted by Jesus' no. So she stays turned away until she begins to get a little bit interested in what John is saying, because, well, she's a mother, and if she can't save her son, then maybe her son's friend can. And the really interesting thing, as Mary turns toward John and Jesus in their conversation, she incorporates in a very stylized way a very simple movement of changing the page in her score. I just think that was a very delightful little moment. She held on to her style and her character, and in the little movement as she turns toward John to hear his case, she just touches her score and changes the page. Now, John gets the same answer that Mary got, but John is told that he can't do it, again, because he's not a god. He is merely a man. So now they're moving to, there's a significant emotional change in the tone of John's music. And Jesus and Mary react by changing their positions. And they both hold stylized positions. And later, during the continuo, during the portion where it's just music, they change positions to prepare for the next sequence.
Okay, and should I roll the next sequence now?
Yes.
Okay.
So then there's a musical piece, a continuo, and John sums up his case. Mary reacts to John, and Jesus begins his response. It's here in this section that the response is that John can't take Jesus' place because he's not a god, he's merely a man. And then Jesus continues in a very gentle, loving but firm way to convince them that only he can die, only he can make this sacrifice. And John and Mary are very saddened that they have not convinced Jesus to allow them to take his place.
Okay.
What I like about that clip is it really shows that Mary and John remain uh, uh, profoundly part of the emotion and action of the story. Okay, it's not like a concert where singers are at their podia and singing. When their part is over, they stop, and then when their cue comes up, they begin. Here, they're engaged in their stylized positions or movements. They're engaged in the action and in the emotion the entire time, and that was a really nice little example of that. In the next clip that we're going to see. Um, uh, well, no good drama takes no for an answer. So Mary and John now begin to argue among themselves who is more worthy to take Jesus' cross, who deserves it more, who should it be, who should it be, who is the right one to take Jesus' cross and to die in his place. Now Jesus is listening to the both of them, right? And he's taken very much by the love that comes through this argument. That there's the love of a mother, and there's a love of a friend, but there's a deeper love, a love that he has taught them, a love that will go so far as to sacrifice oneself for one's friend. And for Jesus, that has to be very encouraging, because that would tell him that his ministry has been successful. That if he came to teach us to love profoundly and to the end, then he has succeeded. So he can now take his cross, and he can do this without being discouraged or worried that he has failed, but indeed that this is a sign that he has succeeded.
Okay, so should I roll that next clip, Tony?
Sure. That's just really beautiful. And it also shows that they're interacting with each other. The impact on the audience of singers who would be, as I was saying, at their music stands, singing directly to the audience wouldn't get the impact of these people actually talking to each other, actually pleading with each other. In the next clip, Jesus tells Mary that he must now go die, and she's just totally devastated, and she knows that she's about to lose her son, and she tells him to go, to leave her, and she gently touches his arm, and her touch lingers.
Okay, before I play that clip,
Yeah.
Tony,
Mhm.
we did have a question already,
Oh, okay,
and
good.
and so we have movement is awesome in the oratorios. So thank you. How many people can be moving on stage without being overwhelming? A small choir. Also, were wardrobes chosen with movement in mind? I know we did
Good.
talk about clothing. Yeah.
Yeah, let's go from backwards. Yes, indeed, we did choose wardrobe in a very simple way. I mean, it's stereotypical, but it's true that Mary is often depicted in blue. So Madeline wore a blue gown. Corey wore simple neutral black, as the friend John. Jesus also in black, but with the white shirt to distinguish him from John. And the clothing was to be uh, uh, presentable, but loose enough for them to move. Now, what was the first part of the question again, please?
It was
Oh,
about
the size,
how
right?
many people. Yeah.
Right. Well, that always depends on the size of the stage, and what the cast is. I mean, if here there was a cast of three, and these three people carried this 2 hour long oratorio along with the musicians. We have to talk about the musicians here in light of that question, because the musicians are also maintaining physical stylization. They reflect in the way they hold their bodies what is happening on the stage with the singers. That was part of the exercises at Avaloq. The musicians participated, not just the singers, and it sensitized the musicians to what was happening with the singers. So the musicians, if you pay attention, the musicians are also very, very stylized, and they don't look around. There's no extraneous movement. Everything is very precise and very concentrated, and it's really very lovely. So if you had a whole chorus, you would need a large stage, but that can be done. It would be really interesting and really wonderful. And it would depend on the type of music and the impact of the music, the theme of the music.
And the funny thing about that situation is a lot of talk didn't go into the musicians being as careful as we were, all the instrumentalists. But having done the exercises with the singers and gotten into that mindset and that type of rehearsal process, it came pretty naturally to everybody.
Yeah, it would be. I don't mean to use a word as strong as it, but it would be kind of sacrilegious for the musicians to be slouching when they're not playing or looking around, while these actors, singers are doing what they're doing. So the musicians really picked that up and were very, very precise in everything they did, and it was really beautiful. And it again, it's the inner life. They were living the inner life of the music as well as the singers. So that all projected to the audience, and it all embraced the audience in a new and different way than they were used to when they would come to a performance of this type of music.
So we're going to move back to that clip that you described before.
Right.
So this is when Jesus tells Mary and Saint John that he has to go to die, and Mary says go, but at the same time puts her hand on his shoulder.
Yeah. She's fabulous there, and singing leave me" while she's touching him is very poignant. And the higher notes that she hits, every time I hear that, it's like those notes are just piercing my heart. She was just so on point with that. It was just marvelous, and that reflects on the composer as well, because that comes from the music. The music is that, and the music is the base of that. And she took that and just brought it out to everybody. I thought it was magnificent.
I think so too. A lot of people were touched by that.
Yeah, yeah. In the next clip, now John is doing the same thing. He's telling Jesus, "Okay, I can't do this for you. Go, leave me." And he is so, emotional that he just starts singing right on top of what Mary is singing before she's finished. And then Jesus turns his attention from Mary to John.
Okay, I'll start that clip.
Thank you.
And I think we have one final clip for this first part of
Yeah.
the oratorio.
Yes. Now we're going to the closing chorus, where the chorus sums up the first part of the oratorio for the audience. Now, the singers will break character, always stylized, however. They will shift positions to signal to the audience that something different is happening. And the rest of their singing will be directed directly to the audience, always in stylized positions, always with stylized movement. And when they finish, they hold a tableau until the tableau is broken by the audience's applause.
And just before we start the clip, just
Yeah.
just to remind our audience that we are still accepting questions on our Discord channel. So check out that link and give Butter. That's in the story section, and on YouTube, it's in the link below the video in the comment section. All right, I'll start the next clip. And that was one of my favorite movements or moments there when Madeline reached for that apple, pulling it down from the tree. It's a real Garden of Eden.
The work that we did, because she took the apple and brought it down, and then she said to me, "What do I do with it?" Because it had become so real for her, which is exactly what we do in mime, in silent acting. We use our bodies, we use rhythm to create everything there is in the universe. And once you've created it, it's there. It's real for the audience. You can't just let it disappear. You can't just let it go away, because the audience will wonder, unless there's a specific reason that you would do that. So we worked out where she would slowly bring the apple down to her side and around behind her back, and then just open her hand and let the apple go as if it were falling to the grass behind her. And then she brought her hand back, and the audience by then had lost the apple, and the apple was disposed of in a true mime way. It was really nice, but she really got it. She really got it.
And it was also proof that in a chorus, that there's actually real action going on. I think a lot of times in the classical music world, anyways, that when a chorus happens, it's sort of this blank sheet moment where you might get a pretty sound with a blend of voices if there's a good ensemble and things are going well, but otherwise it's completely devoid of story and meaning. And I think this really shows what the possibilities are for choruses as a dramatic element within the greater plot.
Mhm. And they're going from like tableau to tableau, from painting to painting, from quadrant to quadrant. It's and that maintains the tension of the music for the audience. It maintains the intent of the composer. And it maintains the direction that comes from you, Jeremy, as the artistic director and music director of this. You have a particular vision of where this music is going, and in their movements and in their stillness, they present that vision.
Yes, I think so, and I was very very happy with, especially with that part of the oratorio.
Good. Good.
Up next, we have a few more excerpts from the second half, and in the second half, we have a edited video with subtitles now. The quality still won't be as good as what you can access on YouTube after our presentation, and so please check out our channel. But we'll be a step up here, and you'll also get the subtitles to be able to figure out what's going on as it's happening.
Okay, in the second part of the oratorio, Jesus is on the cross the entire time. Okay, so that presented us with a dilemma. I mean, you can't have a singer standing there like this for an hour. I mean, it's just not going to work. Physically, regardless of one's conditioning, that you can't do that. So we blended a couple of things. There were moments when Andrew had his arms extended on the cross, and then there are other moments where the music is really talking about, really presenting his emotions at the time. So his arms would come down to show what was happening in his heart, to show where he was. And throughout the second half, he's going through all kinds of emotions: elation, and suffering. He talks about blood a lot in the second half, and what satisfaction this is bringing him, which seems to be a surprise to him, as well as it is to Mary and John. So in this, Jesus is singing, and Mary and John are deeply affected. They look at each other and stand very close for emotional support. And at the end, after this emotional outpouring, Jesus extends his arms and is back physically on the cross.
Okay, I'll roll the first part of that.
It's very delicately
unfurled.
Yes, yeah, and it's so delicate what Andrew is doing there, and what the musicians are doing also. I mean, you almost have to really listen really hard to hear the musical notes as well. They're so delicately blended in. In the next clip, Jesus is talking about all these emotions that are making war in his breast, and in their grief, Mary and John, they can't look. But at one point, Mary tries to look, but she has to turn away.
Fanno guerra nel mio seno, fanno guerra nel mio seno, fiero dolore e dolce amor. Fanno guerra nel mio seno, fiero dolore e dolce amor.
In the next clip, it's the famous gospel passage, "Woman, behold your son; son, behold your mother." Jesus offers John as Mary's son and offers Mary as John's mother, and John and Mary gently embrace.
A te di figlio invece cede od dono il mio fido, a te mio fido cede la propria madre.
I'm sorry. I have to restart
Oh,
that clip.
That's okay. I'll watch that 1,000 times. It's really lovely.
A te
Still having a lag. I'm sorry if equipment
It's okay.
failure.
di figlio invece cede od dono il mio fido, a te mio fido cede la propria madre.
It's
It's
really
extremely
beautiful.
touching, isn't it?
Yes, it really is. And it's so delicate, so delicate. And the next clip, Jesus dies. And you can feel Mary's insides collapse.
Yeah. And you could hear a pin drop in the moment after Christ died. So it's powerful.
And her, yes, and Mary's first utterances are just so poignant and so touching. There's like a shaking in it that just goes through you, and it's the audience being mesmerized also is due in large part to these tableaux, to these movements, because they are seeing real live people grieving, pleading, loving, and you can't help but be touched by that.
And that's something that people mention to me is the idea of going to a Bach Passion, these huge, famous works, excellent, amazing music. But they said that they never encountered the Passion story in such an emotionally direct and touching way before, to actually realize that the characters involved, along with Christ's identity as God and man, are man, as man and woman, human beings that are experiencing the story in a real way, not a theoretical way, an emotionally direct way.
Yeah, and everybody in your company, you've chosen artists quite well, Jeremy, and I'm really thrilled and honored to be working with all of you. But all of the artists were open to doing this and really pulled it off in a really profound and moving way. And it's about energy, right? Yeah, the energy from the artist is exuded toward the audience, and the audience absorbs this and starts to vibrate in the same way. I mean, basically what's happening is, the instruments are vibrating, the voices are vibrating, the bodies are vibrating. Well, the audience begins to vibrate, and they begin to vibrate in a particular rhythm. That's part of what mime does. We create rhythm, and the audience vibrates in sync with that rhythm, and they must, because they are physical beings. If they are vibrating in a certain way, they will experience certain emotions.
And I think we have one final clip from this section, the very end of the oratorio.
Yes, it's the conclusion. Now, it's similar to the end of the first part, where the singers drop out of their characters, but they never drop out of their style, not out of their stylization. And they change positions again and address the audience directly in summation in music and voice.
Okay, so I'll roll that clip. I just think that's a wonderful ending.
Yes. What makes that ending work for me, Jeremy, is your musical direction. At the beginning, just before as they're starting to change places, you allowed for silence. The music didn't have to go from one piece or another, so that silence allowed the poignancy of the previous scene to really sink into the audience. And it was obvious that it wasn't over, but there was an ending there. And then the silence allowed the singers to shift, but it also allowed the audience to really absorb what they had just seen and to be able to take a breath, to be able to be prepared for this conclusion. So I think you did a really good job there in that regard.
Well, thank you, Tony. This is something that's really interesting about a lot of these oratorios is there's a clear ending, as you say. It's a place where the plot obviously ends and the music even ends in many ways. But then there's an additional moral message, an additional chorus, some other reminder at the very end, so that you go home with a message in your head and perhaps in your heart. Yes, one would hope. And I just want to apologize again for some of the lag in the stream. It started out pretty good and it's gotten worse over time. I think it's an equipment problem. We're probably going to have to spend a few $1,000s on getting things that can actually handle this. It looks like a simple outfit switching between the two of our pictures and the videos, but apparently it's very takes quite a toll on the CPU and the GPU of the computers. I have two computers running right now in order to be able to pull this off as it is, and we're still having a lag. So better luck next time with new equipment.
Yeah, from your lips to God's ears, I hope the equipment, the funds for the equipment come through. But also you're fighting, the atmospheric conditions right now, which are not conducive to anything electronic or anything floating through the atmosphere.
And I guess that's a good moment to mention. You can go donate on our Give Butter page if you're so inspired today. So please keep that in mind. There's a nice flashy little donate button, and anything really helps. We really appreciate that. So we also did a second oratorio this year, and it's very different. Same composer, Antonio Giannettini, who just about no one knows, very unfortunately. And I think some of the fault of that is because of what he wrote. A lot of Baroque oratorio and a lot of Baroque opera, and both of these are very rarely heard. And in the case of the oratorio, especially, almost never, if ever, is Baroque oratorio heard. So I think the reason why we don't think of him in the same way as we think of a Mozart violin sonata or a Bach keyboard sonata or a Bach passion or something like that is, they're obviously coming from very different fields, and I'm not meaning to make a direct relationship between any two composers, but he's a king of his field, and I think it's about time we start reclaiming people like this for our repertoire, our richness of life for today. The second oratorio that we did is The Man at the Crossroads, and it's more like a morality play. We have an angel and a demon both vying for the soul of a man, and then our extra character is a narrator who keeps us on track with the plot points, and so he has a lot of recit, rather than the arias, but there's a good mix of all of it. So we have extremes, lots of emotional extremes happening throughout this oratorio. And I think our first clip is our entrance of the demon. So he's saying that the gifts of heaven are rather uncertain, don't you think? You don't get them right now. Why would you place your hopes of happiness in that rather than to grab what's right in front of you? So we have Andrew Paget singing that. Let me. I think I missed a slide. There's our title page, The Man at the Crossroads, and now we'll play that first clip.
O tu, ch'al dolce suono e lusinghieri accenti, a non ben certi doni, troppo credoli il cor vinto abbandoni. Misero, non t'avvedi che a più remota speme affidi le tue gioie e sante pone dal tuo genio innocente una gloria lontana, una gloria lontana, un ben presente. Paradiso de contenti, paradiso de contenti, e un bel quarto lusinghiero. Son le stelle sue ridente, i berrai d'un occhio nero. Paradiso de contenti, paradiso de contenti, e un bel guardo lusinghiero, e un bel guardo lusinghiero.
I really like the way Andrew got so into this role that he really relished it. It was like every time he sang, every time he moved, it was like he was biting into something that he really enjoyed, that he really liked. And he really had a good time with this. And I think the audience really picked that up. He loved being the demon.
And it sort of seems like he was grabbing the strings of the world too, and in his hands as he was singing that excerpt.
Yep.
Our next excerpt is one of those great contrasts. We have both the angel and demon sort of spitting at each other. The angel's calling the demon a liar, and the demon is calling the angel a braggart. And so the angel says she'll defend the man with the arms of faith. And the demon, in contrast, says, I'll defend man with the arms of the earth, or our earthly arms with the forces of the world. And you have to see the end of the oratorio to find out who wins.
Che di novelle fino ad ormo pascesti.
Do you have me there?
Che di novelle fino ad ormo pascesti. Folle fusti secresti. Incannar quest'innocente.
Collarmi della fede, io lo difendo.
Collarmi della terra, io la pretendo.
Collarmi della fede,
Collarmi della terra,
io la pretendo.
io la pretendo,
Io la difendo.
io la pretendo.
All right.
Okay.
Okay.
And I'm trying to, let me see. It looks right here, and you guys look like you're on your side. Well, we could
Okay.
just leave me out if you want.
Okay, I'll leave
Yeah.
you on the side for right now, and if you work that out, that's fine. We have two final clips though. Do you want to comment on the next clip?
Yeah. The next one is the man is searching for the angel, but instead he encounters a chorus that offers him a tempting menu of earthly delights.
I think we actually have one more excerpt.
Oh, there's one more before that?
was
Oh, okay. I don't have that. So
a very brief,
that's okay.
a very brief one. I think with Clifton singing. So
Okay.
let me play that real quick, and we'll jog with our memories.
Oh, okay.
Volate, 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 miei spiriti alle stelle, miei spiriti alle stelle, a cieli alzate, la più amare desio sei ben fedele. Volate, 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 miei spiriti alle stelle, miei spiriti alle stelle.
Okay, we're having a few more technical difficulties here near the end. Sorry,
Oh, dear.
everybody. Lots of lag right there. Sorry about
Yeah.
that.
That's the man is telling his soul to fly to the stars, and his gestures reflect the soaring of his soul to the heavens.
Yeah. And so it was a very hand-based gesture movement there,
Right.
rather than a choreography.
Right.
That's something that differentiates the two oratorios quite a bit. There's a lot of room for movement around stage in this oratorio that doesn't exist in the Victim of Love.
Right. Yes, there's a lot of movement, and actually, the singers had a lot of fun with that because their characters could claim space. They could move from side to side. They could move around, and they had a lot of fun with that.
All right. So we do have that final clip
Right.
with the man searching for the angel and the chorus enters.
Right.
And what do they have? Earthly delights.
Yes.
Ma chi mi tar parlare, chi mi raffrenna il volo.
Io che dispenso amori,
Io che offro grandezze,
Io che prodiga son tanti tesori.
bellezze,
Ricchezze, fasti, pompe ed onori, io ti preparo, io ti preparo.
Nice.
And
Very
we
nice.
also have later on, we don't have this clip right now, but a chorus of demons that sort of laugh wickedly, and
Yes.
there's all sorts of high drama in this oratorio.
Yeah, the singers in that one really let themselves take it to the extreme. Still within the confines of the music, of course, but they let themselves really enjoy that one. That was great. Sorry, the audience can't see that.
Yeah. Another time for that one. We actually do have one more clip, and I forgot to mention it. And Tony, this is your clip. We decided to do something special for the beginning of The Man at the Crossroads. Most oratorios start with the symphony of some kind that's just instruments playing, and you can figure out what you want to do at that time in terms of the singers and any action. And so Tony has taken on two roles. Do you want to tell everybody about that briefly before we start?
Sure. The music made me think of the angel and the demon, and portraying the angel and the demon in one body, which is what's happening with the man. He's being tempted by both inside himself. So I attempted to portray the angel and the demon. Some artists helped me develop a mask that fit on the back of my head. That was an angel mask with a halo, and on the front of my face, I had a leather devil mask, an Italian mask, and I had a Pierrot costume that had sort of very flowing sleeves, so it could lend itself to the sense of wings, perhaps, or flight. And the angel is beckoning the audience to join him or her, and then there's a change in the music, and the devil appears, and the devil tries to rope in people and to cast his net over people and drag them in to his sphere of influence. It was a lot of fun to do.
It was. Let me play that clip.
Sure. Oh, I want to say to the audience first that
Yes.
they're going to see part of that clip from the side. So they'll be able to see that the mask is on the back of my head and I have another mask on the front. The audience was seeing only one side at a time. So try to imagine just seeing the one side. Okay.
So the devil mask is a surprise part of the way through.
Yes.
And that's a triumphant note to the end of our program, I think.
Yeah, thank you very much. And thanks
Yeah.
for the chance to do that. I had a lot of fun with that.
Yeah, and thank you so much, Tony. This is the first time I've been able to do one of these with someone else. Usually it's just me right now.
Well, I'm glad to be part of it.
Yeah. Well, just in 2 weeks now, Peter Walker is going to present a self-accompanied program of medieval sequences that illuminate pivotal moments in the lives of biblical heroes. And that program is also going to join us on July 24th. So you can always visit sacreddrama.org or check our Facebook page, or even check the video on YouTube if you're subscribing to YouTube. So just as a reminder to everyone, remember to like this video on YouTube and subscribe to our channel if you can. And also, if you heard about us through Facebook, I hope you'll like the Academy on Facebook. We also have a mailing list on our website, sacreddrama.org, so you can also go there to sign up. All three of these are very easy things to do, and they don't cost anything, but they actually help us quite a bit. So we really appreciate your help to be able to do that. And of course, if you want to go the extra mile today, please make a donation on our Give Butter page that's on our website, or become a member. Help us to meet the spiritual needs of today through the revival of an ancient art form, as we believe that's part of the possibilities with sacred drama. And we're really grateful for your support. So thank you again, Tony. It's been a pleasure, and looking forward to next time.
Likewise. Thanks very much, Jeremy. And very best to all the people who are listening and who'll be watching later on the recorded version. Everybody stay safe and healthy.
All right, thank you. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.